Hello and welcome to Skies Above the Reich and Storm Above the Reich. We're going to be doing a joint or a combo campaign, a full campaign with both games combined together. And it will be a teaching game for those of you who might be new to the games. I do have videos that teach it, but I made mistakes because I was learning along the way. It was over 2 years ago. I have so much better camera now, and like I'm not even like I think back then I recorded it in the annoying portrait mode, and I had to hold the camera in my hand, whereas now I have a tripod. I mean, I'm not saying I'm like professional level, but compared to back then, I'm doing much better. So yeah, we're gonna get in and talk about how to get one of these campaigns going, and we'll try to do a full playthrough. And like I said, we'll do some teaching along the way. I have a lot of stuff just out on the table randomly. It appears randomly, but it's really not. Because I want to talk about like what do you need to do to set up to play a combo platter game like this. The first thing is, of course, you need to own both games. And then secondly, like I do in all my video series, if you're looking for playthrough, go to the next video in the series. I always create playlists. This will go in a playlist. The playlist is called Storm Above the Reich. All my videos will be numbered in that playlist, and you should be able to just go into the playlist and jump from one to the next to the next. This video is going to be about setup and then just talking about how to combine the two games. It is not going to teach you how to play. That will be in the playthrough, which is the next video. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about with components and like what do you need to do and how do you know how to combine all these. The first thing is in the Storm Above the Reich game, there is an advanced manual, which is what you see down here. This is the advanced rule book, and section 5 is where you want to be. It will tell you everything you need to do to combine the two games. Okay. I had some questions after reading it. Like I think it could have been a little bit better, but it gives me a pretty good idea of how this is supposed to work. The other thing I want to point out is I have all my components out for the two games, and this is Storm Above the Reich. This is Sky. And you see the difference? The Skies Above the Reich components are a lot smaller. At least they're visually smaller to me. This is a player or a pilot that a player can control, and then the same for Storm. And you can tell they're significantly different in size. I guess the good news is they'll be easier to tell apart. I don't know. I know some people get annoyed by that. They are slightly off color. Like this is, I don't know what you would call that, like a reddish color, whereas this one is, gray, and then the other player is blue on this one, and for the original game, the other player is yellow. Now, when I say other player, these games are made for possibly two players, but if you're not playing two players, you're playing solitaire like I am, the game basically functions almost exactly the same. The only difference is that you split the pilots when you're playing a two-player game. And in a solitaire game, you get to control all the pilots. So for your convenience, they made them two different colors. So if you have Storm Above the Reich, the blue is meant to be for player 2, the gray is meant to be for player 1, and then for Skies, they did the same thing, except it's a reddish and then yellow. Now, when you're combining the two games like I'm going to do, we're going to have, I think it's 10 pilots from this one and 10 from that one. And so we're not going to use all of the pilots. There's actually quite a few options that are available to you. And let's talk about that real quick. The first one is, you can see here that the staffel for the various years, when you're doing a combined game, you can have a completely BF 109 roster. So basically, you're going to play with Skies Above the Reich pilots, but you're playing a combined game. And the only thing that's really combined for you in that situation is you're going to have the maps. Like the maps are going to be from both games. So you could choose to do, original Skies from the Reich characters with the combined maps. Or you could just do Storm Above the Reich characters, the FW190s, with the mixed maps. Or like we're going to do the pure combined. And so what they do is they have, on the inside, this is the advanced rulebook. On the inside of it, they have what's called a combined pilot roster. You do not have to do what they do, but it just makes life simpler to print this out. So for example, this is loose, Mac, Newman, whatever, and they picked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, they picked 9 from the BF 109s, and then I'm assuming these are 9 more from the FW 190s, and so the you're going to have 18 total pilots, and it's going to be half from one, half from the other. So what I did was I just went to my copy machine and I made some printouts of this, and I got it here somewhere. I gotta find it. I will find it. It's just here it is. It's right here. So I just made some copies of this this combined pilot roster, and so I'm just going to use these. The names of the pilots don't mean anything other than your own narrative. The one thing that the designer really tries hard to do is the first letter of the names are always going to be unique. And there's a reason for that. If you've never played this game, your pilots can die and you're allowed to replace them once. And so, for example, if Luce dies, you can replace them and then put in Larry. And all the components in the game that are, for example, Bauer here is one of the player characters here. It begins with a B, as you can see. Well, when you flip it over, it'll have, see, the original game doesn't have that. I wondered if that was new. Okay, well, this is the old Skies Above the Reich. It's just a bunch of crap. Let's switch over to Storm Above the Reich. Oh, look at that. They got a little smarter. So with Storm Above the Reich, M is Munster. Okay, so let's say he dies, and you can call him, Mitch. Well, Mitch, like even when he's flipped over, there's an M on the top left, and that's to tell you that that's your M character. So even when he's in an invasive mode, you can easily spot who he is. That's a new feature. Interesting. I didn't realize that wasn't in Skies, but it is in this one. I'm not going to say go out and buy the game based on just that feature alone, but it's pretty cool. All right, so like I showed you, I actually printed out a bunch of these because I plan on playing this game more than once, and you only need one, of course, for the mission. So I'm going to pull that out and put the rest away. Now, a couple more things. There is one thing you don't need from Storm Above the Reich. You can just throw it back in the box. And it's the pilot roster that comes with the game. However, so let me show you. This is the pilot roster that comes with the game. And if you look at all these pilots, these are all FW190s. Because remember, Storm Above the Reich is its own game within its own right. So if you don't have Skies Above the Reich and you're playing basic Storm Above the Reich, you would use this pilot roster. And that's all the pilots that come with the Storm Above the Reich game. Now, a couple of things. The first one, the Storm Above the Reich roster has different expert skills and different green skills than Sky. So we now have a total of 6 expert skills because there's 3 from Sky, 3 from Storm, and then 6 green penalties. So you're going to have a little bit more there. The experience table, I believe, is identical. I don't think there's anything different here. The other thing that you're going to need is the reverse side, right? This is same as Skies. In fact, it's identical to Skies so badly that it's actually a defect with the game. And let me show you, their QA department missed something. So this is Storm Above the Reich. You can see that up here. And then right here under auxiliary, it says an auxiliary fighter is any fighter that is not a BF-109. Well, it should say FW-190 because this is Storm Above the Reich, not Skies. They missed that one. So, you know, am I going to burn the game and flip the table? No, but that's something that they definitely missed with their playtesting. So I am extremely confident that this is a identical sheet to not only am I saying that it's identical to Skies Above the Reich, it is so identical they didn't even bother to change the one piece that should have been changed. So if you have your copies from Skies, you can just use those. Otherwise, I recommend that you print them out and make some copies. They do provide you with, oh gosh, maybe 2 dozen. But, you know, like most of us who own these games, we don't like touching the stuff. We make our own copies and just use those. So that you can return to the box. You don't need that. You just need your one sheet. Now, with that being said, I know I'm saying that a lot, and I will. There is a sheet that I did print out here, and I actually took the time to draw these lines across because in my copy, I couldn't tell one row from the next. All right, I needed to make rows so I can, you know, this is mission 1, mission 2, mission 3, mission 4. I thought that was easier because if I don't do that, I start writing like this way. And so all my stuff will be way up here and then, or maybe I'll write this way and then like, you know, but anyways, this of course is me hand drawing and you can tell it's not perfectly straight lines. If you want to get a ruler because you're that anal, go for it. But the point is, try to do this once and then make copies of this. You'll find that it's helpful to have the lines. You know, and obviously you can space them however much you want. I find this to be a pretty good spacing for the game. Okay, I know I'm getting into a lot of detail here, but there's one other thing. There is a page in your advanced rulebook that I recommend that you print out. And I have a color printer, so I was able to scan it in color, but it's this page. And what it does is this is the expert skills from both games combined together. And this is the green penalties from both games combined together. And then it explains how these work with both games combined together. Now, I'm going to get all these papers out of your way and show you where I got that from. It's still in the back of the advanced rule book. So I'm just going backwards from here. And right there's the page. Okay? So it's on page 34 of the advanced rule book. I highly recommend that you try to scan it and make your own copy. If somebody can get this uploaded to Board Game Geek so people can print it out, I think that would be the most amazing thing because here's why. There's so many, I mean, look at my table. I have this, I have this, I have this, I have all those. I mean, this game is such a cluttered mess. In terms of like, you have table after table and sheet after sheet. This is a rule book that you're going to have to keep open so you can reference this. Just print it out. And yes, it's another sheet you have to reference, but you can at least shut the book and put it away. You know, I know you're exchanging one thing for another, but you know, having a book open to a certain page to me is very cumbersome. Okay, now there is, when you play the combined game, you're going to have to use this new table. And this new table is going to be very annoying for you because it's yet another table that's above and beyond regular tables you have to do. And there's no getting around it. For every single mission, you're going to have to use this table in addition to all the other tables you already normally use. It does have a nice little thing at the bottom here to explain, you know, how your fighters can be assigned to different places. But all of that information, well, except for this part at the bottom that you see here, all this information is on the back of the advanced rulebook. So you can at least use the back of the advanced rulebook as your table, but it's in addition to other tables. So if you've never played the game before, just take my word for it. You're going to need the advanced rulebook flipped over to its backside to be able to play the combined campaign. So if you can just accept that much from me, I'll explain the rest later. Okay. Now, getting into some other things and features. If you're doing a mission, so let's say it's 1942, Germany North means we're going to play Skies Above the Reich missions. Okay, so we're going to use Skies Above the Reich purchase books, guides, all this other stuff. But it is possible we're going to get a Storm Above the Reich map. So things sort of get mixy and mixed up really quick. So you have to really keep straight. Okay, am I doing a Skies, which is what the North means? I'm doing so basically this map, it's not a map, it's a formation. I keep using the word, I use the word map because of this. It's a formation. So B-24s are coming after us from Germany North instead of B-17s. B-17s are the 1, 2, 3, 4. The 24s are the 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? So you're going to use, this is a situation manual that you have to use when you set up a mission, but it's only for Storm Above the Reich maps. And so you can see map 5, 6, 7, and 8. You're going to need the Skies Above the Reich situation manual for when you're doing a Skies map. And that's where it gets very annoying very fast. The pursuit maps, again, this is a pursuit map for a B-24. I finally got the answer I was looking for. It's a B-24. So this is the pursuit map for a B-24. That's from Storm Above the Reich, so you gotta keep those separate from the pursuit maps for the B-17s. And then it gets even crazier, and let's talk about that right now. So while you have to keep everything separate, there's a few things you probably can put away. So for example, with Storm Above the Reich, there's a sequence of play for the pursuit. I don't think the sequence of play is different. So you can put away the one for Skies Above the Reich and just use this one for Storm. The mission sequence of play, same deal. You could just use the Storm one, and I don't believe you need the Skies one. Okay, so we can put that the Skies one away. But here's where it gets crazy. This is the Storm Operations menu, which of course you need. And it's got basic game instructions, which is great. This would be used for Storm Above the Reich, but we can't use this. We have to use the back of the advanced book because we're combining the campaigns. I sort of wish they had one more page where it was the combined campaign here, but they don't. So that part I'm, not as happy about. But so this is Storm Above the Reich purchase book. Well, now you got to do the same thing for Skies. So this is the Sky Above the Reich purchase. And so if you're doing a Sky Above the Reich map, you're sort of grabbing from here. If you're in Germany North, you're using this one. If you're in the Mediterranean, you're using this one. So the types of planes that are available for you is based on which theater you're in. And the thing is I got the Skies Above the Reich. Well, look at this. This is the mission setup for Skies Above the Reich. I ignore that whole thing. This is a 2-player game. I ignore all that. Yeah, so the Skies Above the Reich, I got to keep this sheet out just for this one page. And maybe this is another opportunity to scan something and just print it out. Actually, that's a great suggestion, Jeff. I should do that. But just letting you know, you're going to have to keep certain things out just because you need that one page of Skies Above the Reich to help you. Here's another one. Your blocks and markers, your hit and proximity, your turn track, all this stuff has not changed. The rules are exactly the same. Even the rules for how to become an expert and all that other stuff, you need 3 EP to remove a green penalty. All these rules are exactly the same. So you don't need it for that. Here it talks about the different fighters. You still don't need the rules. Over here it talks about cohesion and collision checks. You still don't need the rules. But then you get to here. So when you're in Skies Above the Reich, you got to do these blast locations. I'm pretty sure. And this is the only one that has the bomb directions, because bombs are from Skies. In Storm, they have this thing called cables. And then, oh crap. Oh, so sorry about that. That was quite the disaster there. Let me make sure that it's still recording. Okay. So, and then this table is for when you're fighting against escorts. And it's, of course, using Skies Above the Reich planes, which are different than Storm. So, again, I got to keep this whole thing, this whole sheet out, just because of the possibility that we're going to be doing Skies instead of Storm. Okay. I think you get the gist. We're going to have to keep a lot of duplicate stuff out. And keeping them separate is sometimes difficult because, like, for example, this sheet here, it says Storm on this page, but if I flip it over to this page, it doesn't say Storm. And then you just got to be smart enough to know, okay, that's the Italian fighter, and, you know, that's the Romanian fighter, that's the Italian fighter. You know, we can, you know, that's clearly the Storm Above the Reich sheet. Okay, getting back to the brass tacks here, and I'm just checking one other thing. Yep. Okay. You have this dilemma. This is the Skies Above the Reich fate box sheet. This is the Storm Above the Reich fate box sheet. So when you're doing a combined campaign, let me just tell you that everything on here is identical except for the planes. So the escort display is completely identical, at least to my understanding. If somebody sees a difference, please let me know. But I did not find a difference. Even the tables with the dice rolls are exactly the same. It sort of makes you wonder why it took them so long to produce this game. But where it gets a little wonky, and you can see I wrote right on the game. So in a combined campaign, obviously in Storm Above the Reich, you're FW-190s. The BF-109s can be hired as auxiliary. Can they? Let me think. They cannot. But you can actually, in the combined campaign, you can recruit BF-109s as auxiliary if you wanted. It's actually, you know, in the rules, but it doesn't matter. The point is, in a combined campaign, the FW-190 uses this table. The BF-109s, your BF-109 pilots use that one. Now, in Skies Above the Reich, you have ME-262s, so I had to write that in. Although that one's pretty easy. Anywhere you see ME-163, the 262 is also there. So from Storm and Skies, you don't necessarily need to write that in. It's pretty intuitive. But the ME-410 is a plane that only is in Skies, but it's not in Storm. So I had to write in the ME-410 everywhere. And then the BF-109, in this case, is the same as the FW-190. Here it's different. What I found is that the game actually prints BF-109 if they're different. It doesn't print it if they're the same, which I found to be pretty annoyingly inconsistent. But I guess it's consistent from the fact that it prints it separately if they're separate. Anyways, this is your choice. Some people don't like marking up their materials. I'm just letting you know that I did, because I only want to use one. And so I'll let you look real quick here. But the ME-410s is basically the second column all the way down. And, you know, you could maybe memorize it. The ME-262s are in the first column all the way down. And the BF-109s, really, I only wrote those in the places where they don't. And they always share the same spot as the FW-190. So I guess you could argue that that's something you can just remember and you don't need to mark it up. But I'm not a person, like when you do these videos, I'm trying to memorize, and I'm trying to talk, I'm trying to remember, I'm trying to strategize. It's actually a lot to do. And so I don't know. I mean, maybe in my youth I could do it, but so by doing what I just did, marking this thing up, I can take the Skies Above the Reich sheet and fold it up and put it away. I guess you could argue that you could switch sheets, you know, every time you're going from one mission to the next. I think that would be highly annoying. The components, as far as the tokens go, are pretty much identical. The only thing that's new here is you got cables. So these are cables, whereas the Skies Above the Reich will have bombs. You could combine your stuff. I didn't, but there's no reason you can't. Now, a couple of things that are above and beyond here is the cards. So when they give you the cards, you're going to see that it says Skies Above the Reich at the bottom or Storm. And they did do a pretty decent job of color matching. I think you can see that the Skies is a little bit darker, but to be quite honest, it doesn't matter. There's no way you're going to memorize these cards, and who cares if you're getting a Skies one versus a Storm one. But you are allowed to combine them. Now, you might be thinking, well, I can see the difference between them, and I am not like you, Jeff. I really dislike this. Well, per the rules, you can just use one of the decks. You don't have to use both. So stop your whining. If that's the path you were going down, you just use one deck. Now, the rules say that they're both identical. So you could just use one. Doesn't matter which one you use. Or you can just combine them so that way you don't have to shuffle as much. And I'm all about not shuffling as much. So these are just 2 copies of the identical deck. So yes, could you get the same card twice in a row? Yeah, and if you were playing with just one deck, you would never have gotten that situation. I understand how some of you with your analytical mind, you just go off on all these tangents. And you know what? That's the thing. The choice is yours. So it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me at all. Now, once I start playing and my planes get shot down, because I'm going to blame it on the cards, of course. But, until then, not going to do it. Okay, so you can shuffle all the cards, and it doesn't matter which direction. So for the tail, the nose, same deal. The oblique, same deal. Okay, now, one difference, though, in continuing fire. So here's continuing fire for Storm Above the Reich. And this is continuing fire for Skies Above the Reich. And I do like that they moved the text around so you can more easily tell which one's which. So Skies is on the bottom, Storm's on the top, the continuing's in the middle. If you're playing an FW190, you do continuing fire here. If you are doing a BF109, you use these continuing fire decks. Okay, so the game says if you're dealing with an auxiliary plane, it doesn't matter which one you use, so just grab either. Okay, that's fair enough. The game also says you can combine them, but if you do, you're improving the odds on the FW190s to get hit less, just a tad bit more. So I guess the FW190s are a little more susceptible, which means that this deck is a little more damaging than that one. So I'm not going to combine them because they're not the same. And the designer did say that it changes the probabilities if you do combine them. So I'm not going to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, if I have an FW190, I will use this. If I have a BF109, I will use this. And as far as the auxiliaries go, if we're doing a map that is Storm Above the Reich, we will use Storm cards. If we're using a B-17 map, which is the Skies Above the Reich, we will use these cards. And that's going to be my system for handling the auxiliary fighters. Because my logic is, this deck is not as good as that one. So, if it were up to me, I would just always draw from this one with my auxiliary fighters and never use this one. But you know what, if we were just playing the Storm Above the Reich game and you don't even own this game, this is all you're going to have. And it's meant to be played that way, so that's what we will do. So these 2 decks I'm putting off to the side. Everything else, you merge together. So you can see that the different color, please don't get upset over that. You can still just use one set if you want. All this represents is altitude, so there's no harm in what color it is. But it is definitely a different color. So they did no color matching attempts there. And then, yes, as you can see here, I have, these aren't even the same color. So this is Storm, and these 2 are from Skies. And for whatever reason, I had 2 extra from Skies, but only 1 extra from Storm. That's okay. It's just, GMT is really good about giving you extras, and that part I appreciate a lot. And like I said, the other components, like For example, Storm Above the Reich has cannons, and so does Skies Above the Reich, right? They both have cannons. And so, you know, you could combine the components so you at least have a few more tokens, and I might do that as the game goes on. The one thing I am going to combine, though, is it basically said that this is identical, and so is this. So this is, if you're new to the game, these are the hit tokens for the bombers. So when you hit a bomber, you draw these. These are the hit tokens when your fighters get hit. And then the brown side is for collision checks, which is, you know, a very specific rule in the game. So the components that come with Storm are exactly identical. And so I'm going to combine them. So that way, again, I just have more to do. And then when I put all this stuff away, that's just one less bag I need in my boxes. Obviously, this will be a pain in the butt if I ever want to sell one of these, and only one of them and not both. But I really love this game. I truly hope I don't ever have to sell it. But yeah, you know, now I got a nice big pool of stuff for both of these, and I don't know, we'll see. Okay, so I know I may have belabored that way more than some of you care, but I thought it was important because the various rules that explain combining and not combining, there's actually several pages in the rule book in several places. So it could have been a little bit better, but I don't want to make it sound like it was a monstrous task. The monstrous task is going through all the components and saying, okay, should I keep this component out or shouldn't I? And that part is a little bit cumbersome. And like, for example, there's this one. This is from Skies. This explains the sequence of play when you are attacking. And then this is the pursuit sequence of play. I think I can put this one away. So I will do that. So I finally got one I can knock off and put away. Yeah, it's really funny because the sheets that they give you for the other one, it's printed slightly different, but that's okay. All right, so what I need to do to start this campaign is we have to take our roster sheet, this thing, okay, and then I do have my camera set up so you can see the roster sheet on my other camera. So we got that set up, and we will definitely take advantage of that. But for now, I'm just going to use this camera. Okay, so I need to find these pilots and get them selected, put the other ones away. I will pause the video so you don't have to watch me do that. That's the first thing. The second thing is we are doing, like I said, the long campaign, the combined campaign. And so what you always have to do when you're doing that is you have to roll to see where you're placed. So I'm explaining the rule, but you're going to find that in 1942 the rule is bunk. And here's why. So when you start in 1942, it doesn't matter what you roll, you're always doing Germany North. When you start getting into the other years and seasons, then there's going to be potential options. And I may have explained this wrong in the introduction video, but like I said that you roll this for each pilot, and I think, and it's actually for the whole staff. So if I roll a 1 to 5, we're in Germany North for all of 1943 early. We're not in the Mediterranean. So, and then of course, if we're in Germany North, then that's going to mean we're going to get more B-17 maps and slightly less B-24 maps. Whereas if we're in the Mediterranean, you're going to see we're going to get, you know, some more B-24 maps, etc. So it changes the way the map distribution works. But for 1942, we don't even need to roll. It's, you know, no matter what we roll, we're going to be Germany North. Okay. But that is what you're supposed to do at the beginning of every season or year. Season, I guess is what they call it. So for the year 1942, that's one season. We're going to be Germany North. We don't need to roll, but just understand that you're supposed to. Okay. So with that out of the way, I will go ahead and, yeah, crap, I just realized I probably need to explain that as part of the playthrough, but that's okay. I will stop there, and let me think, is there anything else setup-wise we need to do? If you've never played this before, you're going to need these 4 tokens to come out. So the escort exit token, the mission turn, the flight limit, and the tactical points. The escort exit on the other side says escort arrives. Those 4 tokens are going to go on your fate box sheet. So what we're going to do when you set up the game, this is going to go on the left panel, and then your map boards, they are going to be determined when we do each mission. So the actual game board is going to constantly be swapped in and out, but this will be a permanent fixture that's just going to be on the left of that game board. And those 4 tokens that I have there, you put them all here in the 0 spot, and they're used for tracking various things. Okay, so you just need that. You need these blue tokens. You need all the planes except for the named ones. The named ones, you only need the ones that are going to be in your mission, and everything else gets put away. The other thing is, this doesn't say it, but when you're doing the long campaign, you get expert pilots at the start of the game. And so that means you now have to find the sheet in Storm Above the Reich that explains what happens and how many expert pilots you get. And I'm looking for that. It's so funny because this is just insanity with how many things I have to open and close just to find it. I think it's this one up here. All right, so in 1943 early, you get 4 experts. But remember, we're doing 1942. Now, if you're playing Storm Above the Reich, it is only 1943. So I have to go flip over to the skies because that's the 1942 one. See, it's already happening. But it's not too big of a deal. And in 1942, you can see here, we start with 6 experts. And it's going to be 6 missions in length. So that's important information that is not written on the combined one. I wish it was, but it's not. And then, yeah, I think I will stop there. I don't think there's any more setup that's necessary other than just grabbing your pilots. And then you have to select what their expert skill is. And remember, the expert skill is going to be on this sheet right here. So 6 of my pilots are going to have these skills. If you watched my previous playthrough, the luck skill is the one I always choose. And to be quite honest, I would still choose it even with the new ones that come with the game. I still think luck is better than anything. This Break Anywhere is actually pretty nice. To be quite honest, they're all nice. But this one is one that I will probably avoid. I play the game a little differently. I don't do collision checks very often. If you remember how I play, I actually have little tricks that I do to avoid collision checks but still do damage. The quick mode allows me to switch between determined and evasive. So when you draw an attack card, you get to look at both results and choose which one you want. That's an interesting one. And then Wily is for aerial combat with escorts. You can, when you're forced to the dogfight box, you can use the skill to exit. Because if you recall, when you're forced to the dogfight box, you're basically out of the mission. It ruins your day. It really does. When the escorts find you, it ruins your day. And if you're wily, you can escape from that and still get back in the fight. It's an interesting one. I don't know if it's better than luck or any of the... Like, I think the expert skills with the original game are way better. This quick one actually could be good. That's an interesting one, I will say. But the flyer one, yeah, not as interested in that one. But, so yes, you do have to pick your expert skills. And remember, you're going to have 6 of your pilots. And one thing that's important to understand is when your pilot gets 5 experience points and levels up, you can take the same skill again. So you're going to have 2 luck skills. 3 luck skills, 4 luck skills. But everybody's only going to have 1 at the start of the game. So whatever you end up choosing, that's fine. Just to be real quick for the people who are new, timing lets you automatically damage a bomber even if your attack didn't do any damage. So it's basically like a free hit. And you have to be in determined mode to use this skill. Usually not too much of a problem, but it's decent. The aim one is when you do hit, you get to draw 2 markers and instead of 1, and they both count. So it's like a cannon. The cannon lets you draw 2, and then you get to pick which one. So if you're doing a cannon here, you're going to draw 2 for the first result, apply 1, then you draw another 2, and then apply your second one. So you get to pick what your hits are. But these 2 together are really powerful because you get a free hit, and then it's always going to be 2. So once you start leveling up, you can get some pretty nice combination platters going on. And then down here with the quick, I can see some potential because here, you get to choose whether you're determined or evasive on whether or not you're going to hit the plane. And then you can make sure that you hit the bomber without you taking any hits. And then up here, you can apply extra hits, and then every hit's going to be ×2. That's really good. And the other thing I want to add is that the aim, when you draw 2 damage markers instead of 1, each counts as a separate damage result. So you get to apply both of them. We are playing the expert advanced mode. So that means we're going to be playing with the pursuit maps. One final thing before I close this out. The basic game, you score points for knocking a bomber out of formation, and it falls out of formation. You'll score victory points for that. And like, how many do you score, all that stuff? Well, that's all based on the different maps that you're in and whether it's inbound or outbound and all that stuff. But you're going to score points for those. And that's written actually on one of these sheets. I just got to find it. This sheet right here, I believe. Yes. So in the basic game, if it's fallen or killed, meaning destroyed, if it's an inbound before they had a chance to drop their bombs, you get 2 victory points. If it's outbound or over the target, you're only going to get 1 because, they had a chance to drop some bombs. But in the advanced game, you only get victory points for killing them. So if a bomber falls out of formation, you actually have to send some of your fighters to chase after them. And there's a chance you may not catch them. Even if you do catch them, there's a chance that you're not going to knock it out. There's a chance it can still kill you. So the VP Advanced game requires you to really, it's a lot stingier with the victory points. So it's harder to win. You do get a bit more experience points, though, for your staff, which we didn't get into all the detail yet. But so one last thing, when you're doing this combined, you can do a basic game or an advanced game. All right, so why am I bringing all this up now? Obviously, well, you have to decide. But the other thing is that when you're selecting your skills, bomber gets destroyed when there's 10 damage. And please don't count. So each damage result could be, like, 1 damage result could be 3 damage to the bomber. Like, a damage token is not just 1 damage. It could be 0 damage, actually, in fact. There's varying tokens that are in the box, but you're applying 2 instead of 1, so you're getting double the damage results every time you damage a bomber. This could be very powerful from the perspective that we want to kill the bomber, and if you get 10 damage on the bomber and it kills it, you get your victory points. You don't even have to pursue it. Now, if you do pursue it, you still can, if you kill it that way, then you still get the victory points. But then the pursuit has all kinds of risk and stuff that goes with it. But this aim skill is a better skill if you're playing in expert mode, is really what I'm trying to say. If you're playing in basic mode, it's not as good. It's still good. It's just not as good. All right. It's really hard to try to explain this game without just playing it. So let me hush and get my pilots selected, and then we'll be back and we'll actually jump in and play. But if you've never played before, then just at least take my my rules of thumb, take it for what it's worth now, and then form your own opinion after you've played for a bit. But I think you'll agree that this aim is pretty good in expert mode. Okay, so I will go ahead and end the video here, and we will start up in a I don't know if the intro video was part 1 or not, but we'll start up in the next video, and that will be the playthrough. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay awesome.